Wilton Norman Chamberlain was one of 11 children. His father William worked as a welder, then as a handyman. His devoted mother Olivia worked full-time cleaning family homes. They taught their children right from wrong and never went without.
He insisted upon wearing number 13, but when he got to Overbrook High School in Philadelphia, they didn't have a number 13. So he came to my parents and he said, I want to be number 13. Who came up with this idea that you couldn't be number 13? Who the heck said that 13 was a bad luck number? Well, I'm going to make it a good luck number and I want to wear it. But he's wearing that number somewhere now, and he wore it proudly. He started 13, and I love him for it. Our family is so proud of him, so proud. And I thank you all. Thank you so much. That's the way he was. He knew who he was, very young, extremely generous, loved games, loved all kinds of sports, loved life. I mean, he absolutely lived life to the fullest. I should be so fortunate. He was just a great, great guy, just a great guy.
Al, you said that, basketball is what he did, but it wasn't who he was. But, well, who was he?
Well, he was a person who was very giving, very caring, and very compassionate towards people. There are a number of things that he did. When I tell people about it, they generally say, yeah, well, you're her friend. Like, you can't be objective about friends, which I can be. And I would say, I'm telling you, this guy was a lot different than a lot of people perceived him to be. You saw him in one area or one arena, but there was a lot more to it than that.
I think, Jim, also that you get into the stories that come out again after someone passes, that it's unfortunate they weren't shared when he was with us, but even Paul Arizon's daughter, just a touching memory.
Yeah, I obviously didn't know Wilt, just played against him for 7 years, but yeah, Paul Arizon actually had a granddaughter, and Wilt found out that she was dying of leukemia. And when he found this out, he made it his personal touch to talk with her every Friday for a whole year. He called her every Friday night. Now that's an incredible commitment to someone that he really didn't know, but to reach out and just chat with her and just brighten her day and brighten her spirits. And he actually took her to the celebration of 50 stars in the NBA, the 50th year anniversary, and took her around. She was in a wheelchair by then, got her Bill Russell's autograph, and he wasn't signing for anyone, but of course Wilt went over and said, Russ, this is my friend. And she later died, and he wrote the most eloquent letter to the Arizon family. And I've seen that, and it makes you cry. But that's the kind of guy he was, and no, he didn't make any fanfare about it. No one knew about it. He just did this on his own because he cared. He was compassionate. Sense of humor? Was he braggadocio? I know that he used to get into arguments, there's 10,000 lakes in Minnesota, there's this many people in this country. He wanted, he was a world scholar, he wanted to know everything. Or claimed he did, put it that way.
Very competitive in anything he did. I don't care what it was shooting marbles. He'd tell you, I can shoot a marble better than you, and it will only go 15 feet. And say, well, there's only 12 feet here, but I'll make it go 15 because I'll make it go around a corner and come back in. And then you say, wait a minute, you can't do that. He said, well, I'll bet you. And I said, well, how much you want to bet? He said, I'll bet you $10,000. I said, well, I'm only making $5,500. I can't bet you $10,000. But that's the way he was. He was very, and he'd walk past you and he'd say, what's the capital of Ohio? You go, start thinking about it, and boom, you go, you're wrong, you're wrong. And here's what he'd always do, and his sister and I talked about this. If he was wrong, he would never say, I'm wrong. What he would always say is, you might be right. But he would never say, I'm wrong, and that's the way he was. One of his family friends who came back for the celebration of retirement of his number said that he always cheated in cards. Oh. And I wondered, did you ever play cards with him? No, never played cards with him. Did you ever hear that? Oh, sure. He'd always try to, do things and try, he had big hands and he'd try to do little things and try to trick you, and then he'd go, maybe I'm wrong, maybe I'm right, and throw it away. But I can remember things that he did where he would just never admit that he was wrong. I remember one time we were flying over after a game, DC-3, and it's late at night and you can't see, and all you can do is see lights out. And so the pilot comes on and says, we're going over Toledo, Ohio. And he says, how many people in Toledo, Ohio? I said, I don't know, Wilt. I'm not a census taker. I said, 357,000. He said, you're wrong, 356,999. I said, wait a minute, big fella, no, you can't do this to me. He said, I'll bet you. I said, okay, how much you want to bet? $10,000. So he said, so in other words, I'm right, because you can't bet. I said, right, you got it, big fella. But that's the way he was, very competitive man.
You know, the first time I got a chance to play against him as a rookie, he was kind of like a hero to me because I watched him so much. And I went to shake his hand. The first time I went to play against him, he wouldn't shake my hand, and they tipped the ball up. He puts his elbow on my shoulder, tips the basketball away, and I couldn't figure, why is my hero doing this to me? You know what I'm saying? And because I hadn't earned any kudos with him, I hadn't earned his respect. It took me 2 years of working hard and busting my butt, working on my jump shot, working on my passes, you know, trying to be a better team player, that I got and earned the right to play with, you know, my contemporaries that were the great players of the day. And that was the first time he came up to me at that dinner and said, Big Bob, welcome to the NBA. And it made me feel, I didn't care if I played at all, you know, but I was finally accepted, you know, by the great players in the game. And that's what was very important to me.